Okay, folks, I think we should get started. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kit Spence, and I'm your election commissioner and the chairman of this meeting. So the way this works is that the three candidates, two numbers out of the hat for speaking position, and Sherry's out of order because she's in bump me and he's put up on a shift. So 1, 3, 2. You're encouraged to ask questions, and you can put questions in the chat online. You can ask questions in person, or you can fill out a piece of paper and have the question read for you if you want. Alexis, our acting law clerk, will read the questions out. Just to be clear, these are not questions that she's asking. She was only going to read questions from the online or from people who've written it on a piece of paper and submitted it. And she will let you know who the question is from. Electronic voting is now open, and people should have received their mail-in ballots. And in fact, we've already had almost 50 people vote, both online and by mail-in ballot. So it's great to see that things are working the way they should. If you have, without any further ado, unless you have any questions, we'll start. Yes. Okay, I'll talk to you afterwards.
Okay.
Thanks. Yeah, so with the mail-in ballots, just to be clear, you're going to get an envelope, a ballot. The envelope says ballots only. So put the ballot in the ballot only envelope. Put the ballot only envelope in the mailback envelope, and put your voter declaration in that envelope. Because if there is no voter declaration in the return envelope, we don't know who voted, and we can't accept the vote. So ballot in the ballot only envelope, the voter declaration in the ballot only envelope, in the return envelope, send it back. Seems to be working pretty good because I got 17 in the mail today. Okay, so you can ask a question of an individual candidate. You can ask a question of all three candidates. You can ask a question of an individual candidate. The other candidates can chime in as well. So we'll start with Nicole.
All right, what does this one sound like? Oh, my voice through there. Nice to see you all. I'm Nicole Malcolmson. I have no traditional name yet to identify me as. I come from the Johnson family though. My mother's name is Ravina Burkholder. You guys may remember her from all the years she spent at the Huu-ay-aht Treaty Office. My Norman was my father is Norman McCready. My grandparents are Ruby and Jerry Burkholder. My great-grandparents are the late Robert and Julia Johnson, and my granny Julie was from Diddy Dog and Edgar family. I also have some white Celtic background, and that comes from my sweet granny Zena, who was a staple here in the Banfield community. My family settled here after building the telephone lines from Victoria. My maiden name was McCready, which was for my father. And that name comes from the Mikisew Cree First Nations up in the Fort McMurray area. My children are Eva, Bennett, and Colby Malcolmson. My supportive partner's name is Brad. He works here at generators. Sometimes you might see him here occasionally. I grew up in Alberta for the last 34 years of my life before we bought a home in the Nanaimo this year. My family were fishermen, mill workers. My mom was a big part of me in the early days before becoming a librarian. I'm proud of where I come from. Today, I'm pleased to join you guys to share that I'm a UBC graduate from the Indigenous Health Administration and Leadership Program. Some of my previous work experience is in Indigenous health research focused on improving emergency care in rural and remote communities up and down the coast. Those communities are Kayukin-Chakasset, Loquiet First Nations, Ahousaht, and Heshquiet. That was a grant funded by the Canadian Health Institute of Research, and that was a partnership between the Toronto Tribal Council and UBC. I still serve as an investigator on the Lucid project and a secondary project called Declare BC, which we will share the findings province-wide with communities like ours. Currently, I work in Indigenous health, supporting cultural safety strategy, health governance, and quality and system improvements across my city and within the provincial authority, but primarily for BC Ambulance Service. I serve the executive and senior directors in their important work and have my work presented to the chief ambulance officer, multiple boards and partnerships like First Nations Health Authority, Rural Coordination Center BC, JIBC, and publish reports to the Ministry of Health people. I'm running because I care deeply about our people. I care about our future, and I believe that there is room for practical, grounded leadership that listens well, communicates clearly, and follows through on commitments. I want to help strengthen communication with our community, with citizens both on and off territories, support families, elders, and youth before crisis happens, and help build systems that allow leadership to make decisions that are more transparent, informed, and accountable over time. She's taking a picture. How I intend to make that happen is through commitment to stronger data governance practices and grow the building blocks that Huu-ay-aht has already put in front of us. I feel like I've already said a lot, but I'm really grateful to be here, so thank you for having me.
Hello, my name is Sherry Cook. My traditional name is Huu-ay-aht. My parents are Jeff and Liver Cook. My children are Frederick and Sarita. My siblings are Debbie and Jason. I come from deep roots in Huu-ay-aht, and I come to you with a varied background in different places. I have experience with HFNDC, Huu-ay-aht Economic Development Committee, the Citizenship Committee, Huu-ay Council, and I have experience with the Huu-ay-aht Tribunal and the Huu-ay-aht Exclusion Orders. My volunteerism in the community is with the Alberni Indian Residential School Art and Education Society. Use paintings from surviving children to teach current students today in schools about the history of residential schools. I work with the Toy Run. It's a motorcycle rally. All the funds go to children and families in the Alberni Valley. I organize a group called the Cook Family and Friends. We mostly use the money for kids in sports so that finances aren't a barrier for their participation. And I'm on the board of directors at the Alberni Athletic Hall. I come to you with a deep experience, 15 years in the school district, 2 years at Huu-ay-aht in the education department and the communications department. And most recently, I spent 6 years at Asma in the Child Protection Agency, building family trees and putting families back together in a good, healthy, safe way. And I am a proud business owner. I own a fishing charter business with my brother. I own a freeze-dried candy company with my daughter, and I do lashes and brows. I'm hoping today that you can hear from all of us that Huu-ay-aht needs a strong woman. We need a woman at the table because we're the backbone of the nation. We're life givers, and we're the ones that can stand strong. There is nowhere in Nechanic where you see a strong man without seeing a stronger woman. And that's the place that we need to be. I feel like we need to continue with some of the work that had already started from our late leader Stella and make sure that those projects are well on their way and seeking completion and keep the momentum moving in a good way.
Hello, I'm Connie Waddell from the Nookmas Edgar family. Majority of you know me. I've been around for a very long time. I said last night, Ben used to say he was an elder in training. Now that's my words. I have a son who's grown up on his own. I have a granddaughter who takes up a good chunk of my time. I started out owning my own business. And then for 20 plus years with the nation and now owning a business, trucking business with my husband. So I bring a wealth of experience, knowledge, history, and I'm pleased to be sitting here again. Speaking to you, speaking to all of the citizens over the last week. It's been nice to reconnect. It's also been nice to hear the questions because what we're finding with each community is consistency. The questions are very consistent between the communities. So everybody is on the same page, and that's nice to know. So thank you, and I look forward to this evening.
Thank you. So we're open to questions. First question. You need to give you a mic.
Oh, no, I don't need that.
No.
You need to use the mic because the people online won't hear the question if you don't use them.
Is this on? Sorry.
Sorry, before we do that, in the past, at all the other meetings, we had a song start out. Does
Hello?
somebody here is prepared to sing a song? Excellent. These guys, you run with it. Excellent. Go ahead, do that now.
First off, I'd like to thank the young man who met in for easy go. First thing I noticed when he got here. But when I have a job and I'm always have a job. I'll repeat myself. I just wanted to thank the young man who met in for bringing this down because I noticed that right away that he didn't have a job on the table, but I'm good. And I almost always have to, there's like, I'm working for Hank, so I didn't have my friend with me. But I'll gladly sing a song and I did a song on the board here today. But I just wanted to thank young brother too.
Thank you very much. And my apologies for not recognizing we should have done that earlier. Thanks. So, first question.
Can I ask you the same question I asked to the other council that were elected the last 3-4 years? Do you plan on socializing with the members after each meeting or after social event? Or just to disappear like 3 of you? And the only two that ever stayed behind is socialize with their band members, the Friday. And Lady Summer Peter. They're the only one. And it's sad to see that after a meeting, they all disappear. They don't stay socialized. So I mean, I mean socialize, not no bad members, no nothing, just socialize with the band members that function.
My personal. Here, I'm waiting for Nicole. Can everyone hear? No. Can you hear? You want me to talk closer? Is that better? Oh, I'll repeat the question. The question says, do you plan on socializing at and after events and not disappearing like how some current council doesn't interact with citizens? That's the question. The question is, I think I already do. Like, I think I already know everybody in the room, except for maybe Ashley, I've talked to on the phone. So yeah, absolutely, I'll be around. I'm not hiding anywhere. Everybody knows how to get a hold of me. I'm on social media and my children are very active. I too have noticed that the current council kind of do their business and they disappear. But I want to address that the Huu-ay Council is the same. The Huu-ay Council also doesn't make a lot of cultural appearances. It's mostly myself that is out at cultural activities. So absolutely, yes. And I'm sorry that it's not that way currently, but we hope we can always make improvements too.
So I agree, yes, I would stay and socialize. That's been a common question amongst citizens that I've been talking to over the last few weeks is, are we just gonna see you during campaigning or are we gonna see you if you're elected? And the answer is yes, you will see me. Yesterday, there was a question posed to, what do you see achievable in the short term that you have? And my answer was communication. I see that is something I can achieve in the short term, is more communication with citizens, one-on-one, in groups, after functions, what have you. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Laverne. The better question is the citizens gonna want to stay and talk to me? I really pride myself on being a world-class yapper, and that is one of my favorite parts of attending our events is speaking with people, getting to know people. If you let me, I'll introduce myself to strangers in elevators that look First Nations and try to figure out how we're related. I really appreciate that part of being Huu-ay-aht, and that's been probably one of my favorite parts of having a phone numbers list of about 400 numbers to call people and spend that time just connecting. And even if you know each other well, or we don't seem like we have anything in common, we do have one thing in common. It's that we're all Huu-ay-aht, and there's always kind of that common ground. And, you know, given that opportunity, yeah, absolutely. My close cousin Brad there loves to stay and chat with people, and I think that's something that we do well across our family, so that's definitely, I think, you know, on my to-do list. I was just saying to Alexis before we set up here, you know, can we stay? So, thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? Yeah. And say your name for them, so the people online.
Hear me?
Yeah.
Jackie Dennis. My question is about the community drug and alcohol policy that we have, and I don't want how many people are all interact. You know, you're needing 6 appointments, you have years legal, going to be people, right? So I was wondering if there was maybe how you feel with that. Anybody else?
Thanks, Jackie. Yeah, we had a question last night that was kind of similar, but it was about opioids and what we thought we could do or participate in supporting the crisis and making change. And that was one of the things that I said is we need to meet the people where they are at the time. If they're saying right now they need support, they need help, because that's a small window and asking for help is one of, it's the hardest step. And so to be able to meet that person when that person says, yes, I want to go, I'm ready. Definitely that is something I would like to work on.
Thank you for that question, Jackie. In terms of the drug and alcohol policy, I am not a drug and alcohol counselor nor a professional in this field. My background is primarily in Indigenous health governance, and one part of the work that I do does touch on the opioid crisis, like Connie had mentioned. One change I would like to see in regards to many of our policies is applying that data governance across the board to increase the ability for us to track how are the policies, how are the procedures currently affecting our people in their day-to-day lives. And when people share comments like you just did, that is actually a data point that should be captured and be able to tell a larger story over time. I don't know much about the drug and alcohol policy that you're referring to, but if you're a citizen and there is something about it that's not working, I really think that should be looked at by leadership or, anyone who gets a say about it, whether that goes to Hopkins or whether that goes to council themselves. But I would suggest that you do take it to the Ombudsman program in this particular instance, because that is a third party that can convey that message at this point in time. What I would like to see changed is how are we tracking these trends and, comments from our citizens and really defining what is working for us and what isn't. And I really hope that, the policies really can be more inclusive, and I would actually love to see we have a committee added of people who have gone through addictions and now are sober to one, almost be a mentorship, but also to help review policies that we are intending to implement with the nation from that lens. Because if we as policymakers, we may not have had that much knowledge. And I really think it's important to have people who have that, that advantage on us to really give that input. And perhaps that's something current council would consider implementing the treaty. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Jackie. I know this is something you're passionate about, and I want to tell you I'm passionate about it too. I've brought it to the Huu-ay Council and I've made it extremely heard that Huu-ay-aht needs our own treatment center. We need a house in town that has 4 beds. We need a Newtonald way and a Huu-ay-aht based way of healing our own people. And I said this last night, like Connie said, we discussed it last night. It was in regards to opioids, but nobody knows better how much we struggle as Huu-ay-ahts unless you're Huu-ay-aht. Because we have intergenerational trauma. We have the effects of residential schools still lingering. We have our own issues. And every generation, we hope, gets better than the generation before. In saying that, I want to address this because I work at USMA. At USMA, we have high-risk youth, and we actually send our kids out of province because Port Alberta has a shortage of youth detox beds. And one of the jobs that I used to have was to keep kids sober enough that they could get in. And it was a struggle all the time. It's such a big struggle. And I think if anybody wants to seek counseling, if you go to the First Nation Health Authority website, there's a list of counselors that you can reach out to. Some of them only offer Zoom, some of them only offer phone, some of them are in person. And I believe for the first time ever, Huu-ay-aht has our own clinical counselor, which is Scooter's wife, Jen, is a certified counselor. She just finished her schooling. She's based out of Duncan and she runs her own practice. True.
Thank you. Other questions? At the back first. Age before beauty.
Hello, good evening. It's Lisa. This is Rob. And I wanted to ask, well, first off, I want to thank all the candidates to thank you for, paying for work. That up to potential representation. Very good, very honorable. And my question is, might have a few tonight, but the first one I have was, I want to hear how your experiences, whether they're work experience or life experience, will help you in representing forward.
Thank you for jumping in and asking this question. I think it's an important one. It's a really great way to showcase what it is that we all do differently. We may show the same traits, but we're on different stages in our lives. We've had different levels of involvement here and here. But at this point in my career, at this stage of my life, I feel like I'm ready to be equal to work. Working in the government systems at the provincial level that really depends on community engagement and strategy. I feel like that translates really well here to the daily skills that are going to be asked of me if it's asked for us. Working as one part of that larger picture, of course, though, being a mother, being a hockey coach, those are all perspectives that I guess you can bring along with me as well too. We're talking about everyday pressures. Understanding that many families may be in the same circumstance or maybe I've been in theirs before as well too, is something that I can be relatable with. I really have that drive at this point in my career to give back. And I've been given a lot of really great opportunities by people who are a lot smarter than me, and sometimes they're related, sometimes they are, physicians in this province. And I'm really grateful for the experience that I have where that brought me here to this day. And I feel like being the younger candidate here, it feels like a little bit more relatable, that maybe some of the youth may be able to see themselves up here in the near future themselves. And maybe there's something about me that some of the more mature people never recognize from when they were younger than me as well too. So thank you for your question.
Thank you for the question. I am gonna list for you some things that I think I draw on that maybe you are or aren't aware of. I was a high-risk youth outreach worker at USMA, working with kids that were in addiction and living on the streets or couch surfing. And most recently, I'm a connections worker, building families back together in a healthy, safe way. I worked in the school district as a new child education worker for 15 years, educating Mamahani and other cultures about our culture and helping and supporting Nichanoth and other First Nation kids reach their goals in academia. I am an intergenerational survivor. I survived being a teen mom. I'm a community volunteer. I most recently sit with the Huu-ay-aht, which is a sharp learner curve. I tell you, it's a lot of work. And I'm a domestic abuse survivor. All of those things, although they were difficult at times, made me stronger and they made me who I am. I know where my voice needs to be. And it needs to be with our own people right now. And I feel like I can do that too.
I believe my strength in being a business owner contributes. I believe my strength in leadership over the past 20+ years and the knowledge, the history that I bring, memory of certain things that have happened with previous council members, things they've achieved and how that's contributed to our success. I believe my own personal struggles had tested my strength, made me a stronger person that I didn't know I had the ability to become. So I believe wrapped up with my work experience, my business experience, and my own personal strength, contributes to the ability for me, hopefully, to represent you. Thank you. Maybe.
Hello, my name is Eva, and this question is to all three contestants. Um, my question is, what are some of the thoughts towards helping the next generation, such as myself and others who come after me? What does that look like?
Thank you for the question. I think when we answered this question previously, you might not have been there. Some of the things that I'm hoping that we can continue or bring on board is the Huu-ay-aht Youth Conference, the Huu-ay-aht Youth Campout, and trying to hear why it is we have low turnout to dance practice, why it is we're not using our canoe, why it is we don't have a youth council anymore. Because there's many things that need to be done in order to keep youth engaged, but I also feel like we live in two worlds. We live in a world where we're gonna hold on to our culture as much as possible, but we also need to make sure we strengthen our youth to battle the world out there and give you the best education possible and not be saying no to different programs to why you can't attend, but saying yes. Yes, you want to do brows and eyelashes? Let's do it. You want to become a travel agent? Let's do it. Because we want to be where you are when you need it. Shoot.
Yes, I agree also with Sherry. I also think that we need to create the space to hear from you as a youth. What is it you want? What is it you need? So that we can tailor it to exactly what the youth are asking for. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. I don't think I've ever been so nervous to answer a question. That's a really high stakes, ask that I think before from us, and I would just want to say how brave you are for, you know, even picking up a microphone. My thoughts are on helping the next generation is one, my personal contribution will be raising them, but the ceiling will no longer, like, will be there. I think that the next generation is going to go on above and beyond anything that we could hope and dream for. You know, like there's been like a lot of learning in this particular government, and you know, it's gonna be running forever, but I think just the vision of young people will, you know, always create that next opportunity and, you know, really letting you guys set the pace, when it comes to what does it look like in committees. I really think that we should be including youth earlier, sooner, and as a part of like the bigger decision making, because the choices that we make, we can only hope that we're making those choices in a good way, but have you fact check that? You have that person in the room that has that intention, that it's intended for, to make sure that you're capturing for them. You know, just really sure that our children are included in community events, that they are, you know, carrying on for us, you know, our traditions. I already know that you speak on each other than I can. I know that Ben has sat more drum circles than I can. So it's not fair to me to say, how am I going to help you? It's more like, how can you guys help us do our job better? And I think it's just by the inclusion of, you know, children and themselves. You know, really creating space for that. So thank you.
Thank you. This is a question from online. From Jade Chester. This question is for Nicole. If you could change one thing about how Huu-ay-aht services citizens over the next years, what would it be and how would you know that change was actually working in our everyday lives?
That is a loaded question, but I'm so happy to take it, and thank you, Jane, for presenting that in, and what an honor it has been to meet you online. And I will bring us back to one of the points that I've been making over this last week, and it comes down to data governance and how are we tracking our citizen comments, complaints, and how are we being accountable as leaders? How will we know that, you know, the changes that we're suggesting are reaching citizens? And I really think that refining the way that we are interacting with everyone and just the complaints based, you know, it feels really late in the game when they have a point of making complaints. I feel like there's the way that we can improve the way that news trends, issues in breakdown services or changes that happen that negatively impact our citizens. I would really love to see that strengthened. And I think we have some big building blocks already there, but how can we get that? So thank you for the question. I hope I answered it.
Can you repeat the question so Connie and I can figure out if we want to respond?
Yes. If you could change one thing about how Huu-ay-aht services citizens over the next years, what would it be and how would you know that change was actually working in our everyday lives? This was asked by Jade Chester from online. Thank you.
Thanks, Jade. I bring it back to communication. That's the best way that I know I can make change in 11 months. And how myself can contribute, not as a collective, because everything we do is as a collective. But reaching out to the citizens, one-on-one, getting through, which socializing after functions. And then to know that I would know that the change is happening by the fact that they're getting the services, that they're needing our questions answered, that they're needing, that maybe feels more personal.
Thank you for the question. I know it was asked for all of us, but just so that we have a chance to respond, I think one thing that I can help bring to the table is communication and being transparent with what's going on. Not trying to hide anything or keep anything from citizens. And the other thing would be making sure things are fair throughout the nation. Fair for the old, fair for the young, fair for the on TSL and off TSL, and making sure we treat everyone equally.
We, um. I believe we have 6, but did you want to? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sarah Dennis. I know that we vote people in to run a government system, and it's because we trust in what your decisions are going to be. But we had a big decision to make about $41 million that Huu-ay-aht received, is approximately that much. But would you let the people make the decision, or would you solely make the decision on your own against all of the people?
Thank you, Sarah. No, I would not solely make the decision on my own. If I'm elected, well, I'm elected by the people, so I represent the people. So it's not my own personal decision to make. So I would need to hear from everybody, and I would like to think that we would bring it to a vote. Because the money has to serve the people, whatever the situation is. If we wanted to put it into the annual budget or pay off debt, or I would like to see that there would be some ideas coming from the floor, and we would break it down into how we vote on that. And then I would probably like to see a portion of the money go into the overall operating budget to increase things like the health department, the education department, the elders benefits, that kind of thing. Thank you.
Last question, last one.
It hasn't had one, sorry. I'm not sure if this touches on a historic point, or maybe there's something the rest of us don't know about, but $41 does sound like a lot of money, but at the end of the day, I've seen some of our budgets, and it doesn't seem like that lot of amount. Personally, I would not make that decision regarding how that money is allocated, again, bringing it back to the data governance, kind of anchor that with myself, is that we should have a system that enforces accountability, and through that very system, we should be able to identify themes and trends and be able to, plan from a future perspective and not be so reactive when it comes to needing to make these decisions. I think we've heard from our citizens over the years, over time, of what people truly want. And how do we communicate that back to people that, they fully understand? I have a tough time understanding how it's not from, whether it's monthly council meetings to, resolutions from people's assemblies. I really think if we had a better, stronger data governance system, we would be able to have a strategy in place for the time that millions of dollars come into the hands of Huu-ay-aht. And I think collectively over time, that would really be at our people's decision. And so I guess to really summarize all those words, no, I don't think I would be the one person making such a decision. Any someone. Thank you.
We practice this microphone passing back and forth thing. To answer your question, I was recently watching Sashot. They got a big windfall too. And what they did was they did some community rounds and they got a lot of engagement from citizens and they asked them, where do you think the money should go? And what they ended up doing was they ended up creating pie charts by percentage, saying X amount goes to this, you know, this percentage goes to that, this percentage goes to this, and then getting a referendum almost similar to that and voting on it. And I think that would be something I would suggest, is that the nation come up with, you know, what is it we need to ensure all of our programs still continue on a baseline, and then leaving the rest up to citizens to give input and discuss and have a better projection of how much money we're actually spending. Because I know the elders are currently asking for more money per month and they deserve it. But the problem is, where is the money coming from? And we all need to be informed on that. Where does the money come from? And I think the only way to do it is to have that open, frank discussion with the citizens in the places they are. Don't be spending zillions of dollars getting all those people from Vancouver, Victoria, and Nanaimo in one place. Us go to them and say, hey, where do you want this money to go? Do you want it in invested wealth? Do you want it in youth programs? Do you want it in elder care? Do you want it in healthcare, patient travel, top up? All of these things are important to everybody, but we can't decide for you. You need to decide and have a say in how all of that happens too.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Hello, good evening. It's so wonderful to see three fabulous ladies up there. I have a question and I just want to know where you guys. Oh, sorry, Luella Dennis. Given the scientific evidence of climate change and the ecological importance of old growth forests and the history of indigenous people being displaced from their land spiritually and traditionally against nature, what actions will you take to protect the remaining old growth forests for our children and all living beings?
I'm up first. I use as much from the land currently as I can. I harvest medicine and Devil's Club and cedar bark. I think some of the things that we need to rely on experts that aren't us as well. Like not only using our own elders to tell us the places that we need to protect, but relying on the tens of other people that are worse off than we are. Like, where do they see things happening? I know at the Huu-ay-aht Council, we're working with the University of Victoria to help us get a baseline of the trends of the world and the things that we have in our territory that need more protection. Currently, we've been given 40 hectares to protect, and we're in the middle of trying to figure out where we're putting those no-go zones. But honestly and truly, I think we need to look outside of ourselves to get some guidance on this part too.
Thank you. This is out of my realm. I know that it's serious. I know that we need to be taking action. I'm not sure what we have in place, if anything right now. But I know that a few years back, there was a portfolio for climate change. I don't know if there's still one or not. But like, they're learning about it in school. My granddaughter is 8. She tells me the importance from mushrooms to moss to you name it, she's not just talking about trees. And she's quite knowledgeable in all of this, and she's in grade 3. So I think we're way behind, at least I am. We need it to be front and center, especially because of where we are, what we have, you know, where our resources are backboard. And so how are we going to protect it? I watch the beach slowly sliding away every year. What are we gonna do? You're right. So it needs to be a priority for us. How exactly I go about it? Well, I have to rely on expertise, and it has to be at the top. Thank you.
Thank you for the thoughtful question, Luella. It's nice to see you. What I personally do for protecting the old that is working. We've done a really terrible job of protecting them till this point. If I say so myself. It's unfortunate to see just how scarred the land is from the fire that we experienced driving through today. Hearing the kids express like the deep concern that they had for that. I really think climate change is already and again, I don't think we can put Pandora back in the box. And I really don't think logging is quite, I don't know, at the forefront of our nation's priorities anymore. Just because logging is kind of a dying industry, and I'm somewhat grateful. I grew up as a part of a forestry family. My family is fed by forestry, and you know, it's always a double-edged sword. You know, that has been our biggest revenue producer, as made with the TFL 44, and I also don't really think that's the wisest move to make either. You know, it's really expensive to cut down logs and export it to other countries. I don't think we're benefiting in ways that we are by logging on the rate that we have. In terms of climate change, I would really, I don't know. I'm not sure how any of us solve that. It's really scary to see the damage already done, but I can say personally, I wouldn't be pursuing, you know, more logging opportunities. I would be looking for other, perhaps greener options available to us here in the territories. Thank you.
Thank you. This question is from the online chat. This is from James Nookmis. What are some solutions you can bring to support or bring services to our elders?
Okay, thanks, Jay. The answer this last negative. So I believe there's systems in place already for our elders. I'm not sure to what extent. But I know that communication with our elders needs to be increased. How we communicate with them to make them aware of the services. Because I think that's one of the biggest problems is they're not aware what is available to them when they're needing support. So just me, myself, I know the staff do their part, but as for me, I would make an effort to connect. You know, we have a lot of elders in our community and outside of our community, so making sure they're taken care of is always a priority. Thank you.
Sometimes I feel like I'm repeating myself because I never get the data governance point again. Thank you for the question, James. I know that we have answered this a couple of times in the last few days, but how can we ensure that services and programs are brought to our elders? Again, with the data governance piece, ensuring that we are catching it in a timely manner in order to reach them in places that they are at. I know that medical transport is a big problem and a big barrier for the people. Elderly especially with complex healthcare needs or diseases. I would really love to see an improvement to our medical transport system that almost acts like a bit of a buddy system for ensuring our elderly can get their appointments. I know this program has been tried in the past, or, you know, tried to be implemented in different ways, and nothing just replaces that human contact piece. After speaking with a citizen yesterday, I would really like to see almost like a senior social worker added to our community, someone to help them navigate the healthcare system, because some things, even like phoning the doctor and, you know, reschedule an appointment can be expensive, hard, confusing, especially if the system is automated. And just really considering that the human component is the best part of most of their day. Ideally, I'd really love to see a home care made available for our aging citizens. I mean, but I realize that maybe a more of a long-term goal than a short-term one. But again, I think it would be really great to have a senior social worker implemented in each of our main population communities, like Vancouver, Victoria, and Anacla, Port Alberni, and here in Anacla, just to ensure that they are able to make their appointments, that they are making those connections with existing services, and that they're not falling through the cracks. And also to even just those phone check-ins from our senior body there. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Taking care of our elders is such an important thing, but I have to admit, there's nothing that prepares you for losing one of your parents. And watching them decline, either mentally or losing their faculties, or physically not being able to do the things that they want to do. I personally have an uncle who's deaf, and his brother is blind, and they're both together all the time. One of the things I've done with that is I'm his financial proxy. He can't spend any of his money without the bank phoning me to say, hey, this is where he is, this is how much money he wants to spend. So each of us needs to be able to take on that responsibility for our elders in our own family. But just to list a couple of things, NTC has nurses that do outreach work in the Alberni Valley. You don't have to be on reserve to access them, and they also service this community. And every hospital has a First Nations social worker or a First Nations worker that can help patients guide through the system. I would suggest that the nation host more workshops, not just for our elders, but for caregivers and children of elders, to understand pharmacare. What's your right as a person? What prescriptions are you entitled to without being charged for them? Understanding what elder abuse is, understanding what your financial constraints are in a world that's more and more expensive. I believe our nation should have an elder navigator to help you navigate the world of things like hearing aids and writing a new will and getting a mortgage on a house that you can't get a mortgage on because the bank doesn't believe you're gonna live long enough to get your mortgage. And I believe that we should be training our staff in all of these basic things to help our citizens so that they're comfortable going to somebody on staff and saying, I think I need my hearing checked. I think I need my eyes checked. I think I'm forgetting things, but I don't know how to tell my doctor, or I don't have a doctor, or I don't know a nurse practitioner. Those things are all suggestions that I would bring forward to.
Hello again, I'm Eva Malcolmson, and here's my next question. To all candidates, if you could help with a problem within the nation, which problem would you help with? What would be your approach to the solution? Would this be influenced by the system? Judy.
If there was a solution to. If there was a problem and solution that I could come forward with, I'm gonna bring it back. Again, the data governance piece. I think this is a really important piece where we already have the building blocks in place within the way, but again, it touches many systems that we need. Better tracking, better understanding, better communication with. How would I solve that? I really think bringing our government to the example of maturity could look like, creating more mathematic analysis to the current conditions or suggestions that we hear. Even as candidates going through this process, we've heard many diverse issues for bunch of our citizens in all these different areas, and I really think it's a shame that we haven't captured that. And be able to make meaningful change. People share these complaints so fast because they feel like we really can make a difference. And I think one way to see that small problem change, they instill their confidence in us and they share their personal stories and their thoughts and their concerns. And if we don't get elected, it may not move forward. So I think one solution that I could suggest for the problem that I see in this point in time is we share lots of valuable knowledge, but it may not go, it may not reach the places or the people that have the ability to do anything about it. So yeah, just many different ways to build these mechanisms in while we go through these processes, because each election cycle is different, each citizen has different needs, and sometimes they don't engage in the same ways that we make available to people. Not everybody wants to formal complaints, but they, sometimes see some tweaks in the system that are going to be beneficial as a citizen, and all that data, all those points should be captured. But thank you for your question. What about
It's, no, yeah, they're different mics. I don't,
Maybe we can put the volume down.
You're saying it's great things we have to take care of.
it's not that one. It's, that goes with these that are up here and then,
Is that better, Zelda? Is it? It's not better at all.
I think maybe if you go.
How's that, Nicole?
yeah, I'm not.
I can sing. Would it help if I sing?
Yeah, we had to move them to right here. Thank you.
Um,
I was having a really hard time hearing until he turned the speaker. As soon as you turn that speaker around, I can understand you guys. The whole thing just sounded like nothing.
But if we were getting feedback, so.
yeah,
They're gonna move so that,
Yeah, I mean, but I couldn't hear you.
you can hear this one.
thank you, sorry.
It sounds better at a lower volume. Well, that's good.
And then there's, yeah, yeah.
Can I take a moment? Happy birthday to you.
Who is it?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear lovers. Happy birthday to you. How's that sound? That sound better? Is that good? Much better?
Oh, and then we do the rest of the publish the meeting.
Anyway, to repeat the question, if there was a problem the nation is facing, which one would be the problem I would address and how? I think, we've heard many times that some of our programs are underfunded. The elders program is underfunded, student allowance and being a student is underfunded. Support for, dealing with addiction is underfunded. But the problem is where we get the money. So I would address the finances. And how are we making money would be my target. Broadening our horizons, investing money in places that give us a faster and higher turnaround. So we're not waiting, 6 and 10 years for money to come in so that we can give our elders more money. So that we can give our students more money. We should be addressing those issues as fast as possible, and I think that's the way to do it is broadening our horizons and making good, smart business investments. No, we can't hear you.
For the citizens, ensure that they are bringing it forward, making sure that there is follow-up, that they're being addressed at a larger table with the council, working collectively there, find ways to increase. Because then it becomes the whole council's problem together. So working collectively as a council member, find solutions to better our operating budgets. Thank you.
Yeah.
Give the ladies 5 minutes break.
The chair's role to keep the meeting professional. Thank you.
Thank you for your question, James. To effectively deal with that, I'll use an example of a way that I've dealt with it in the past, and I'm not trying to scrub out some of the factors just because it is about total. How we dealt with it in the past was we had those community events that many of us felt near and dear towards it and had a lot of work into. When people feel close to the cause, they're gonna get their heels in a little more. And, just really recognizing where they're coming from and being able to respect their points. Why they're so passionate about something, even if it's something I don't. Sometimes when there's conflict, I choose to not take it personally, or I try to understand. Another way that I deal with conflict is I like to give a quality of time if it's not going. The emotions can be set aside to solve. I like to give it a 24-hour rule. Where we don't say what the problem is, and if you can follow up with it 24 hours, and hopefully when emotions have subsided, you can come to an effective communication style. Having boundaries in how we speak to each other as a council is gonna be a really big important piece. And if we, continually end up in conflict, we're not going to be very effective communicators. Thank you for the question.
Hi, Sarah Dennis here. I just actually just directed at Terry Cook. I know that you have a lot of jobs, a lot of responsibilities. So how are you gonna handle or put this one in to your job? Does it affect your highway council? Do you still attend highway council and still attend these meetings? I know it's a big question, but
If anything, it's beneficial to the nation that I'm sitting at the table and also wearing a Huu-ay-aht. I have already started scaling back the other many things that I do in my life. My brother's starting to learn how to do his own bookkeeping. It's not the way I would do it, but he's starting to learn. My daughter is old enough now to start running this, so I'm supporting her. The travel agent stuff, I'm sorry to all of you, but I'm only doing it for myself now. I'm not selling trips to clients anymore. And USMA has had, not just USMA, but the Toronto Tribal Council has had well over 50 employees representing their nation at the same time as being an employee. So I know it can be done. My expectation is that I can do both, and both will lend a hand to the other to make sure that there's a balance and fairness among the people. Too.
thank you.
Hello there, my name is Elvis Johnson. I would like to see you all come into our village whenever one of you get elected. Come and see what we really need in the house. I mean, the field was there, I've been on there. Sister just turned 80 today, catch it up. And I know we need help. One thing, one way or other. I know we're kind of short that department there. When the weather's nice. I'm kind of back to work myself. I couldn't do it the other day, the problem with my health. True, thank you.
Kid.
We're gonna respond.
Oh, respond to him. Sorry.
Thank you. Yes, there's definitely cry for representation in the community, in the office, of the community advocates. So I agree with you and support that.
Elected to council, probably not a person coming out and cut grass, but I do have 3 kids that I will send down there to come and help. It would be a privilege to spend more time in the village. As it stands, working Monday to Friday for another organization takes me away from the opportunity to come down and spend more time. My family on both sides of the nation, and it's such a wonderful place. I asked my kids to go away over here. Earlier to me, what do you guys think the community needs? And one of them had actually piped up and said a really good lawnmower. And I said, I'm looking for one. So thank you for your comment, actually.
Thank you for the comment and bringing it to us that you want us to hear more often. My plan and my goal is to actually do that, to be here more often. And I'm hoping that my communication is transparent, that I'm gonna be like the former Sishot elected leader and post it on Facebook and tell you in advance when I'm gonna be here so that you have time to prepare yourself to come and see me and tell me what you're worried about, tell me what you're concerned about, tell me what you have ideas about. Shoot.
We do have one from Susan who hasn't asked yet. I know, the kids. Sorry, you'd like to have said.
Oh, sorry, Sarah Dennis again. I'm wondering if, there's a possibility that we could get, somebody in who's actually gonna be fair to each and every one of our elders. So I know that my husband was on council for like 25 something years. But we can't get firewood, we can't get our lawns mowed, we can't get our garbage taken out. Somebody just started picking up our garbage. And none of that will be done for us. I don't know if it was because he was on council or what it was, but he's an elder, he's 78 years old. I'm an elder. My son Sean, he's definitely allergic, so he can't cut the lawn. So all I want is like fairness within all of our elders, not just in certain elders. And it's like Richard said, we need help with this stuff. And the office looks out for that. But they're instructed not to come down to certain people's property. So to even get my garbage picked up, I'm probably ratting on the guy right now. And he'll probably be in trouble. But I think that it needs to be fair for everybody, not just a few.
I'm sorry you guys are experiencing that. After Robert dutifully served our nation for as many years as he did. Honestly, empathy was a big part of my mission. And I agree, everybody should be treated, or not differently, sorry. They should be treated with equity and kindness. It doesn't matter who, what, where, why, where, or when. If it's being offered to someone, it's being offered to everyone. And accountability for leadership and our administration. You know, again, bringing it back to that meeting of expertise, it's a valid thing that should be made and should be addressed. Like if people are continuing to experience these things, why is that enough? Why is it reaching back to correct that? Because when you guys share comments like that, that is a point. You guys are stakeholders in this government. And everybody, you know, holds the same value as you know, the person next to you. And that's really disappointing to hear that some services are offered, but I'm just really hoping there's a good reason why it's spotty in some or not happening everywhere, but it definitely should be addressed.
I'm deeply sorry to hear that there's not that fairness being valued down here. I was unaware. Thank you for bringing it forward. But I also want to address that there's lots of unfairness in the nation. Not just between male and female, not just between the old and the young, but as a youth, as on TSL and off TSL, as whatever role you have in the community is different than others. There's lots of unfair things happening in our nation and it needs to be addressed and it needs to be communicated. And I wholeheartedly would tell you 100% honestly that it's one of the things that bugs the crap out of me. Why is somebody being treated differently than somebody else? Is it because of those labels? Is it because they don't have those labels? Because it's not fair. Everybody needs to be treated fairly, and I don't give a flying crap. The reason why it's not happening. All I can say is it should be happening. Thank you, Chief.
So I concur with the Dico. But yeah, there's no excuse. Everybody is should be treated fairly. The programs, the policies that we have in place, they're for everybody. They don't say this one doesn't apply to so and so. So if we're experiencing that, we need to get to the bottom of it. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. This question is from Jade Chester. It is from online. One area I don't hear discussed enough is support for Hawaiian entrepreneurs and small business owners. We often hear about economic development, investment, and business growth, but what specific programs, mentorship opportunities, funding pathways, or procurement opportunities are being created for citizens who are trying to build business of their own? How is council measuring whether Indigenous entrepreneurs are actually succeeding, growing, and creating sustainable income? And what barriers have been identified for citizens who are trying to start or scale a business?
So 100% completely honest, my brother and I borrowed an astronomical amount of money to start this business. And we had workshops that we attended through NEDC, and I took a course at BIU. But we did all of that on our own. There was nobody from the nation that helped us do that. It's a sharp learning curve. And for my daughter and I, when we started our business, we had support at the time from Cynthia Rayner was working with the nation. And she helped us do our paperwork for a microloan that was included in our loan from NBC. And as of July, my daughter has paid off a $19,000 loan from her candy company in 3 years instead of 4. I fully understand where this person is coming from. I'm sorry, I don't know you personally, but there is almost no mentorship within Huu-ay-aht to start your own business. But if any of you want to start your own business, I know how to do it. I've helped many people do it. The bubble tea lady, I helped her do hers. And my brother and I are helping a DT fisherman start his business. So if you have business questions and you want to understand the ins and outs of how to get those paperwork's done, just let me know. I'm not afraid to jump in and help you and give you some ideas and feedback. The helpers that we had them through NEDC. We didn't have them from Huu-ay-aht. And the benchmarks are within Huu-ay-aht, the benchmarks are basically how much money is being borrowed. Because it's a grant. It's a grant of $5,000. It's not, we don't measure you by how much you pay back, because we just give it to you once your business loan and your business application are done. It's not benchmarked in any way.
Thank you for the question. I agree that there isn't much as far as supports for entrepreneurs, young or older. We went through it, I went through it twice. In each time, the supports that I received was through NABC. This came up a couple of times now this week, and it is recognized that we need to do more in this area. Business is very much on citizens' minds, and we met, or I met, Tuesday night in Anacla. It's just
Mark.
And he just retired from owning his own business, and he wants to be expressed to all three of us to become involved and to mentor Huu-ay-aht in starting businesses or already existing businesses. But it definitely is a weak area for Huu-ay-aht, and we need to to invest, more supports there, like, we shouldn't be relying so heavily on NEDC. I'm grateful they're there, they do help. And I've attended different programs that they've offered. Sorry, Alexis, it's like I'm talking to you.
I'm sorry.
So yeah, it's been identified, and with all of them that we need to do more there. Thank you.
Thank you for the thoughtful question. I think I'm gonna talk. This is fun. It's hard to measure growth when we don't have this. Bringing it back to the data evidence piece. If this is a valid concern for our citizens, which it is, why are we not measuring? How would we measure something that we don't know about? When we hand off a grant, we don't do follow-up, and that seems like a bad investment. I really think that way it should find ways to continue to nurture the entrepreneurs that we have in our nation. We often talk about it when we touch on academic points, but we don't have a mentor system. Again, bringing up that Trump fellow that on Tuesday, he talked about being an entrepreneur himself, and it doesn't seem like we have input from people like yourself or from him currently happening. I think a solution to this perhaps could be an entrepreneur. Okay, people who help people, review all the paperwork that goes into starting a business. How is it going? Do you have any tips? Where else have you seen things done differently? We have so many experts within our community, and I don't think we utilize them. I really think that having different groups like that, where we can get input from people who are professionals, are the better treats. Council is what, and if we're not nurturing our citizens the way that they're asking for, I think it's time for that to change. Thank you.
Hello. Here. I'm Rob, it's pizza, and this question is, I guess specifically to Anacla. And, I know not a big thing, but it is a big thing. Okay, I really love my dogs, three beautiful dogs, maybe you guys have seen them hanging on my window, or seen pictures of them hanging on my window. And we have a lot of really good and strict rules around here around dogs. But we don't have anything that's opposite, we don't have anywhere to bring them where they can be like safety dogs or designated area. And so I think that we have things, enforcement, being dogs for the dogs. Dog partner designated area where they can. So I'd like to see something like that. And actually brought us up to the last round. So waiting to see if anything will transpire of it, but I would like to see something that could be, for how the designated area for the community, because when you look into the map, what they forest, all the areas would be banned, have like, so they're really on the way around, different things, so I'd like to see good possibilities of put that.
Can I just add to that? What you said? Yes.
I think I brought 4 years ago, it's been talking about it for 4 years, and that's this project.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of work has been done in how to handle dogs, how to have them on the leash, where they're allowed, not allowed, etc. And I do know, Jack, that you did bring this forward a number of years ago. But I agree, there's a number of dogs in the community now, just walking around, I can hear them, and they're all tied up. And so, yeah, of course, they want to be able to run around, and they can't just take off, and because as soon as the dog is off leash, I see a picture on Facebook right away. So there needs to be a spot where they can run free and be, and it's a big social thing too. Like I see the dog parks, you know, just in Port Alberni alone, and just by people sitting in the dog park, I've heard all of that rant about. So yeah, thanks, Rob.
Need that positive. Thank you for the discussion, for question from both. Do you guys know how many council members currently have a dog? I think just Evan. Is it just Evan?
Brad,
How many council members currently have a dog? Is it just Evan?
I think 2.
I don't think Stephen has one.
I think 2. Evan and Brad.
Oh, yeah, Brad's. They're little though.
Yep.
They're so sweet. As a fellow large dog. Yeah, they do places to roam. We have so many feet on computer. Like figures throughout the entire territory that really could be used and like develop like a bit of a walking trail. But I think there's like kind of 2 parts to this talk. One, this existing council is not dog owners, not one ones. And finding is permitted isn't quite there in a position where we can take parts that are been designated for whatever the other is. So while that may be a barrier, I just don't see like that opportunity going forward without this line being opened up. I see that you can get a camping permit and what was that? Yeah. That was a for, oh, you can research it. But you can't take out parcels of the land to designate it for something else. So I think that's one part of the problem that we're currently facing. So there's no mechanism to actually like, you know, take a land study and say, hey, this is gonna be a dog park. You know, it's not time to move forward street cut block. It's not time to, you know, do a really important cultural area. Or, you know, like maybe a Southern Variant Street. I really think that there could be better solutions for the dogs. So maybe the option is to go pick them up in the middle of the forest and use them as well. Also, but I don't see the harm in designating a spot with this chat where they can be safely off and be sharing. It's really important for their socialization as well as ours. I would really support that. So. Thank you for sharing.
To answer this question, I know it's not necessarily a question, but a concern. I live in town, and where I live, the only loophole that I have for myself is to have my animal labeled as an emotional support animal. So that might be a loophole for those of you, I know animals are there for your well-being. And I myself am considering an animal for my daughter, to alert when her blood sugars are too high or too low. And that's an avenue that I could use. I can tell you, sitting on the Hutwood Council for 2 years, this has never come to us. It's never come to us to ask, why do citizens in the village not have a place that's safe for their animals to be off leash? And I think that also might be an avenue to get more support for what your needs are, is to go to a different level of government. I think there's possibilities close to the village, I wouldn't say in the village, to have space for animals to be off leash. But I have a question for you. Is the problem the same for cats? Because it seems like we label dogs all the time. Like there was one bad incident and now the whole apple cart is turned over. So something to be conscious of, potentially a loophole. And potentially a different level of government to approach to.
Sorry, Kit, we just had one from Susan Amos, who's just over here. Thank you. This question is from Susan Amos. Huu-ay-aht businesses and community regarding recycling, what's our or your goal for this? Yes, recycling. And then the next
I don't know a lot. Sorry, recycling or compost. I think that's more of a question than it is for us, but I think that, recycling options should be available to. Absolutely. I didn't notice when I drove by them, just, nobody was there and it was closed. So I think that definitely be a barrier when it comes to being able to recycle, especially when you're pushing with their machines. Perhaps it's this, but the federal government needs to provide them with garbage and waste collection and recycling collection like it does in a municipal area, and drop it off there themselves. I'm not really sure how this kind of topic is this long, but I recognize that would be a frustration because I think I struggle in the city of Milano, having to wait for, my risk. So, thank you for sharing.
I think this would be a great business idea for somebody who wants to start a business. Because the price for somebody to come here, the nation's likely gonna say no. Right? So if there's somebody in the village that wants to say, hey, I'm gonna pick up your recycling, I'm gonna charge you $8 to bring it to town, I'm gonna charge you $8 to bring it to town, I'm gonna charge you $8 to bring it to town. Then I made my money in gas and I've got my appointment. It's potentially a business opportunity for someone. And I think that maybe we should look at a way that we can help citizens who are recycling and do a grant opportunity. Where we're saying, okay, you show us your receipts, you show us your paper that says that you did this, then we're gonna help you, support you with that. But I honestly feel like because the cost is so expensive that the nation is likely gonna say no. So we have to get around that without blaming the nation or there's ACRD too. ACRD is part of our community. What are the people of Banfield doing? Should we partner with them? There's all sorts of opportunities to help ourselves without getting the nation to come back to us 2 years from now and say, no, it's not happening yet.
That would be my thought. We have a seat at the ACRD table. We have a voice there. So it's a perfect avenue to bring up recycling. Because there is business in Banfield, I believe, but is it enough to encompass all of us? Probably not, because we have garbage bins out here. So do we just add more bins? No, I think this is a good place for John, because he's our rep at that table, to voice it there. How do we get our own recycling bins? Thank you, it's a good question.
Hi, my name is Laverne Cook. I know you've asked about the animals, care and services for the animals on the reserve. But since COVID, I noticed how our non-elected meetings have declined the attendance. And we've gone through three different people sitting at our elders meeting. Eric Peters, first started with Kimberly, then Darren. Then we hardly see much of Teresa. And I know it was brought up when Darren was sitting in that we should bring the meeting down here. Because there are more elders on this here than what's in full room. And ever since the COVID hit in, it's really declined on attendance. And it would be nice to see somebody sit there with the elders and talk to them anonymously. And I know I think we're supposed to be coming down in July, I'm not too sure if that was passed or not, but we need to get more of our elders out to these meetings again. And we need, I don't know, somebody to sit there with us.
Sorry, just to clarify your question. What she means is there's somebody from the Huu-ay-aht Council that is supposed to sit at the non-annexed table with them. And for whatever reason, it's been lacking.
Executive council.
Well, the Huu-ay-aht, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I think I have an end on this question because her and I were talking about it. I think you heard it from Richard earlier. And my dear old dad, our elders are busy. And that's just the way the world is now. They're busy, they're still making money, they're still working. Ailing health. I do believe we need to do the non-annexed meetings in rotation down here in the village and up in town. And whichever one is not personally present should be available on Zoom. There is a transportation issue in the village though, like people live in Lower Anacla, but the meeting's in Upper Anacla. Well, then why aren't we doing the meeting at Soaring Eagle? Is my question. Those things need to be brought forward to the chair. And I think we actively need to recruit elders to be sitting there. But I also think that some of the things that are discussed at that table need to carry some more weight. Because right now it's just seems like it's a social rather than an avenue to address some of the issues that elders are facing too.
Thanks, Laverne. Yeah, it is noticeable. I talked with my mom about this because she used to go and she's not going. I know other elders aren't going. And I believe we're discussing that exact thing. We need to bring that group back to full attendance like when Denny first started it, like there was a lot. And so how do we get more people involved? And so we talked about this and communicating with elders. We need to seek them out. We need to tell them that they need to attend the meetings. And I agree they should be in both places. They should be in Port Alberni and Anacla. And for whatever works, is it Lower Anacla? Is it Upper Anacla? Is it at the office? Is it what is best? Let the elders tell us. They know. And I do think there should be some reps there from public and from executive council. Because there's a lot of business that I think comes up that it should be brought to the elders and the elders should be consulting on it. There's a lot of things that come up. We've heard over the last few days of culture. And to me, best place for our culture to be discussed is with the elders. They carry the knowledge, they know. And so we need to figure out to bring that group back together and more involved. So I hear you 100%.
Hi. With the question, we heard, I don't know if I do this, the lovely ladies that have been here speak on the matter. It sounds like there's some creative use of the ship growing in the next videos, and that you guys aren't getting buy-in that you guys deserve. I see a couple of different ways to approach it, attendance wise. And one thing that always gets me to go to meetings is me personally, you know, having someone reach out to me to be like, are you gonna be there? You come. And, you know, if they don't feel valued, they're probably not going to show up. And I see a couple of different ways that others really could be utilized, not just in the management meeting, but I would really like to see it be management that maybe included in other things as well. So, or for the management meeting, be shared with other community members, because how valuable would it be for me in whatever career I have, I'm wearing at, and to be like, all right, I'm going through this, and how do I make this choice? And, you know, often I find others don't actually give you the answer, but just sitting with them will actually give you the insight and understanding than what you're actually asking. And maybe they don't see the value in this group, but maybe we as community members have to show them the value of this group. You know, really, you know, including them in people stuff. Really including them in other communities, so they feel that they're being heard, because we do need this perspective when we're talking about different community services, or, you know, even just for them to hear it firsthand, so they can hear how the decisions are being, you know, say them to be, you know, sent very good. Every committee should have a unit, all they're attached to it, rotate whoever, you know, maybe really likes these certain groups can be a part of it, but I really think that in the current structure, a rotating executive council member should go, because one, we can come up with something really great for that group, and they can also hear the diverse, you know, issues and perspectives that NNXU is going to share with them. And it's like, when I worked with the policeman project, we had this point to try to connect with others in the community. And you know how hard that is to have a group of elders come and join you when you're a bunch of researchers and you don't know the community. Not a lot of places have what we have, and I think there's a really large value in maintaining it, however that may happen. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we should wrap this up. We're well past the time that we were scheduled to be here. I think we had a lot of great questions. This whole tour of all candidates meetings has raised a lot of great questions, and our candidates have given some really well-rounded answers. I appreciate the efforts that the candidates have made to be at all of the meetings and for you to show up. Thank you to the staff for organizing all of these meetings. Online voting is open. If you didn't get a voter letter for online voting, let me know. If you didn't get a mail-out package or the mail-in ballot, you still can come here and vote on election day. You can still vote online. But if you need a mail-in ballot, please let me know soon, because it takes a little while for the mail to get back. But otherwise, the online voting is quite easy. You should have received either in your email. If you don't see it in your email, look in your junk mail, because it's not a center that you maybe usually get stuff from, so it might have just gone in the junk. Otherwise, give me a call or send me a text or send me an email, and I'll make sure that you get what you need. Thanks again to the candidates. Thanks to all of you for coming out. Thanks to the people online, and good luck in the elections.